The HUD, or heads-up display, is an integral part of Elden Ring, and playing without it would be like riding a bike with no seat. It would just make things much more of a pain, kind of like the metal pipe currently lodged in my ass. Well, today we'll be seeing just how much damage I can do to both my ass and my sanity when I ask, can you beat Elden Ring with no HUD? I started with character creation, and I couldn't quite think of what I wanted to make my character. First I was thinking Helen Keller, but I think that we all know that she was a fraud and had perfect 20/20 vision. Next, I thought I could be Stevie Wonder, but I can't play the piano, so I just ended up going with this guy. I don't know where he came from, but he was just sitting in my character presets. I went with the name Carrot Man, and his backstory is that he turned into a carrot and went blind after putting too many carrots up his ass. Because, you know, consuming carrots is good for your eyes, he just went a bit too far. With character creation done, we can begin. I first spoke with Melina at the gate front before beginning the inevitable. While I, do the boring bit before Margit, let's talk about the challenge. What really is the problem with having no heads-up display? Well, a few things. First off, I'll not be able to ever tell what my health, focus, and stamina bars are at during fights. I'll also never have any idea what the boss's health level is until, well, the fight just randomly ends. Next, using items will be much harder as I'll be completely oblivious to what item is currently selected until I use it, which will probably end up resulting in a lot of misuse of resources. Finally, I just want you to know that this
is not okay. It's just not.
And that my ass really hurts from riding the seatless bicycle that was this challenge. Once I arrived at Stormveil Castle, I had to fight Toe Monster Margit. It took a couple of tries to start to learn how this challenge would go. Pretty much every single time I got hit, I would just have to drink a flask. And eventually, Margit was done. Melina then took me to the round table hold where I was able to upgrade before I returned to enter Stormveil Castle. While in Stormveil Castle, I had the privilege to meet the Judas Cow, who sent me to Harvey's office and held the door shut behind me. Fortunately, I was able to avoid Harvey and preserve my asshole. Finally, with enough running, I made it to Godrick, and he was easier than me after a glass of Rohypnol. On to Liurnia, and I pretty much avoided everything on my way to pick up the Academy Glenstone key. Once I entered the Academy, I decided that despite enjoying the cool air on my balls, that it was probably about time to put on some actual armor. So I picked up the Carrier Knight set as it was literally the only set of armor I could think of. I really am stupid. Fighting the Red Wolf was easy as always, but all the boss fights so far have been rather anticlimactic, as they kind of just end suddenly. Sticking with tradition, I watched Moon Man fall into the depths of hell. They really probably should have safety railings there. Now it's time for Renala. And this was the hardest fight so far. I ended up running out of flasks, and after the fight I checked my HP and I was at like 1/3. With 2 great runes and 0 functioning eyeballs, I headed up the Altus plateau via the disability elevator. I then had to do a bunch of collecting, but I don't think that you really care, so now we're on to Draconic Tree Sentinel. I don't know what I was expecting, but Draconic Tree Sentinel was quite the pushover. Not complaining, but I was kinda expecting more pain. But maybe that's for later. Inside the big city, Melina made another appearance and then made another disappearance. At this point, I realized that I had another talisman slot that I had forgotten about, so I went and picked up the Ritual Shield Talisman. If you didn't know, it increases damage resistance while at full health. This can actually help me to determine what my health is, which so far has been something I haven't been able to do. Next up is the Sentient Piss, Gold-free, Lord of Showers. As always, he's a bit of a pushover, like an elderly person. Just push them over and they'll break their hip, and you'll receive talisman slot number 4. With my final talisman slot, I picked up the Ritual Sword Talisman, before fighting King Morgott of Leyndell, last of all kings and 5-time running champion of Wikifeet. With Morgott down for the count and experiencing a little shrinkage, I received another visit from Melina, who told me that I now need to head to Flame Peak to commit arson. Before hitting the road, I killed this living tree before running away from the Lorax. As I headed into the Forbidden Lands, I felt the guiding light fading, but I continued forward anyways. After taking another disability elevator up to the mountaintops of the Giants, I met a strange conehead man, and he illuminated the reality of my existence. He told me about a nice man with candy down in the sewers. Not Moog, but the 3 Fingers. And I want you to know something about me, and that there's nothing I like more than 3 fingers in my ass. Before the pleasure cometh the pain, and that was the time that it took to get to the bottom, which was like an hour and a half, but eventually I got to the bottom and got down with the sickness. Melina is mad at me now, but fuck her, I can see now, and I am awakened. To finish my Frenzied Lord cosplay, I killed Jailhouse Vike and donned his armor. Fire Giant was up next, and he was quite the pain, simply because it seemed to last for an eternity. To make things easier, I went ahead and picked up the Lance Talisman and the Stony Barbed Cracked Tear from the Age Tree and Dragon Barrel. I broke Fire Giant's stance more times during this run than any of my previous runs combined, which is strange. But I didn't land a single critical hit because the one time that I tried, he immediately punished me for my greed and spit super hot fire on my ass, which was embarrassing. Like with my previous fights, it lasted forever until it didn't. Now it's time to burn the tree, and I took the flame upon me and set the Erd Tree aflame. The Lorax tears runneth over. After the burning of the Erd Tree, I woke up in Fair Missoula. Not quite sure how I ended up here, because last I saw, I tumbled face first into a pit of lava. But anyways, I eventually arrived at the Godskin Duo. Normally, they can cause quite the roadblock, but in this run, with the sleep pots that I brought, they were quite easy. I then upgraded my weapon to max with help from the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 4. Now it's time for something I wasn't expecting, and that was Draconic Tree Sentinel Round 2. Malekith is next, and while he took a good few tries, after I beat him, that was when the real game began. But before beginning the real game, I was kinda sad that Melina left me, so I wanted to find a new love. And here she is. This is Irina. She's blind, she's cute, and she's dead. Well shit. Wait a minute though, who's this pretty lady over here? She seems to be the reincarnation of Irina. Well, now her name is Hayeta, and she wants my help. She wants some Shabriri grapes, so I got her an entire vine. Eventually though, her taste developed, and she wanted a fingerprint grape, which I could have given her one of mine, but apparently those aren't aged enough for her, so I found her another. At last, I met Hayeta at the altar, the Frenzied Flame prescription. As the Lord of the Frenzied Flame, I blessed her with my love. And then she might have died. I don't know. She caught fire, but she also looked quite peaceful, so I sat there for a while with her. With my love found, and then lost, and then found, and then lost again, I decided to get back to the real game. Time to fight Sir Gideon. I buffed myself as much as possible as I knew that things would get significantly harder if I failed my first attempt. The fight was still really close, and I again ended up with only 300 HP and no flash, so that was nearly really bad. Godfrey is next, and I arrived at a poor time, as he was mourning the shrinkage of his son, that I had probably definitely caused. The fight went as it always does, with the first phase being easy, and the second phase giving me a prolapse. But eventually I was able to tough it out and send Grandpa to the great retirement home up in the sky. A crown is warranted with strength, and I have one last test to face, and that is the soulless ginger and his pet slime. First, Radagon went down, and I was kind of concerned because I was down to only 7 flats. But then, I had probably one of my cleanest Elden Beasts ever. I came through easily with plenty of flats to spare. With that, the game is done and beaten. I became the Lord of the Frenzied Flame, and my inner eye was opened. I finally could see everything, and what I saw was chaos. Everything needed to be reduced to the primordial ash before being reintroduced to the crucible to be reforged. Ultimately, the lesson learned today is that while both the HUD and a seat on a bicycle seem really important, that you can go without them. And you can beat Elden Ring with no HUD. Anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed the video, and if you did, then maybe like and subscribe. I have yet to plan my next video, so maybe let me know what kind of video you guys would like to see next. I was thinking maybe a shield only video, or I don't know, so let me know. Finally, thank you all for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.